morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 536 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Cryo Media Network. Yeah. Today, recording day is Tuesday, December 17th, 2024, and it is I'm not quite sure what kind of a day it is. It's not as cold as I would expect it to be here at the Beaver Lodge, but it's kind of, I don't know, not ominous, but really eerily still this morning, which is kind of weird. And yesterday too was the same thing. I took some pictures actually and put them up. When I was walking outside, it was like, it's a beautiful day. It's 5 degrees Celsius. The sky's overcast. There's a bit of a wind. It's a perfect fall day, like I like in November. Right? Yeah. But the cloud is so covered in sky. The best way I was able to describe it is like, imagine like the earth was enveloped in white gift wrapping tissue paper, and there was a light coming from the back. So it was all this like backlit white, even matte thing that just sort of like, it was thick enough that the gold of the sun didn't come in, but everything was white. So it was like studio lighting, right? And it's, oh, that's nice. Okay, that's better. But you see that there's a lot of cloud. The whole sky, like there was nothing at all covered, no opening whatsoever. So it was like, I was walking yesterday and it was sort of like, when people think like, are we really just living in a simulation? It's like, is this all a movie? Like is somebody just going to pick up this car? No, it goes like here, as I'm walking to the bus stop. No, I think it'll look better. It was just this weird lighting. So yeah, it was like eerie because it was like there was no movement, right? It was just constant back white light. There was no cloud moving. Because it was cloudy everywhere. So even if the cloud was moving, it wasn't changing. So yeah, it was just really weird feeling. So yeah. So yeah, that looks better here at your end. What it was looks like there's a little more life in the sky. It was weird yesterday. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, and with me is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. And you'll excuse me here while I'm playing with my camera a bit, but I am trying something new so that I can see my screen while I talk to you. It's a little tricky. Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today, sir?
Hmm.
I watched your ASMR last night.
Oh, did you?
Yep,
So you know where my my state of mind was yesterday. Today, it's too early to tell, to be honest with you, because I just can't wake up this morning. My alarm went off, and it's like, "Ugh, ugh," in a state of comatose. So I'm still trying to wake up. I'm on my first cup of coffee. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, that's all I can give you. I do want to share something with you, though, right now.
Yes, please.
I don't know if this is authentic. It was apparently tweeted last night at 10:35 p.m. Tweeted, truthed, I guess, from Trump's Truth Social. President-elect Trump's.
Yeah. Okay.
So I just wanted to share this because it's like he continues to
It's
call
authentic.
Canada a great state.
It's authentic.
It is authentic?
It is authentic.
Yeah. So he's like, for those of you listening, Donald J. Trump, president-elect, truthed, I guess, on his Truth Social network. The great state of Canada is stunned as the finance minister resigns or was fired from her position by Governor Justin Trudeau. Her behavior was totally toxic and not at all conducive to making deals which are good for the very unhappy citizens of Canada. She will not be missed. 3 exclamation points. So he continues to call us a state and the prime minister governor. I mean, this is supposed to be the president of the most powerful nation on earth, and he just can't act like an adult. Like, he has to, like, and here's the thing that's troubling about that statement. Look, we'll get into everything else in a moment, but what's troubling about that statement is this is the guy whose second largest trading partner, because China actually trades more with the US. They surpassed us a few years ago. But we're the second largest trading partner. And this is how he talks down to the current prime minister and puts the country down at the same token. I'm just like, it's not how a statesman should behave. It's childish. Name calling. It's just ridiculous. And it came across my feed, and I'm like, oh my God, is this authentic? And you've just authenticated it for me. So it's like, this is what we have to deal with. Meanwhile, within the party, everybody's abandoning ship. We talked about it yesterday. And now you have people demanding that he resign. I don't know where this leaves us. I shudder to think of what could happen if the Conservatives win in a snap election, and then we have to deal with Trump and Pierre Poilievre for the next 4 years. They're just going to sell us down the river. And all I can say is we can point the finger of blame in a number of areas, one of them being mainstream media, Chatham Asset Management, Post Media, who's been basically slamming the Prime Minister for the last 9 years and letting Pierre Poilievre's lies go unchecked every day. And now it looks like the government's about to fall. Whether or not it does, we don't know. We don't know, but it looks like, they're demanding he resign. I think his ego won't let him right now, to be honest with you. I think in many aspects, the writing's on the wall, but only because his own members of parliament are no longer supporting him. So it seems. So I don't know what is going to happen, what the next few days, weeks, and months have in store for us. It might not be a very Merry Christmas in the Trudeau household, though.
Indeed. All right. Let's yeah. How do we put it? With everything that happened yesterday, it is absolutely very easy to see it that way.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? I'm not saying that it is that
No,
way,
no.
but that's the paint by numbers picture is formed right now.
It is. It is very easy to see it that way. Um, the Trump thing aside,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
that's put out again to get us to
Yeah.
dance to his tune, right?
Yeah.
That's what he wants. He wants us to open the show
I know it's just
without talking about him.
disturbing to me that
It is. It is
you
completely
know.
disturbing. But that's the point, right? Listen, his thing is domination.
Mhm.
That's his thing,
Oh yes. Right.
whether you want it or not, right? As he said at the election, I will defend for women whether they like it or not. It's domination, whether you like it or not. You could tell it's unwelcome. He's just going to stand up. He's still going to try and stand on a higher level than you and try and
Oh,
piss on
yes.
you. It's what he does, right? So, that aside, I guess, over here, the day's events, I mean, it broke as we were getting ready to sign off yesterday, right?
Yes.
So it was not expected. What was expected was the stuff about Sean Fraser because that came out the day before, and it seems that it is indeed very well established and has been well established for a long time, like well over a year,
Mm.
that he's been thinking about this. This really is a bad family for him. Now, he's um, it still doesn't change the fact that it's a huge loss
Oh yeah.
because he is an effective communicator.
Hmm.
Yes. And the housing accelerator program is actually good.
Yes.
It is very good because there were a whole bunch of political shows yesterday, of course, and all of them. I mean, they had David Dodge, the former governor of the Bank of Canada, on it. They had there was one that was like a whole bunch of people, like from economic think tanks and whatnot, and because they were there to discuss what happened with the stuff about the economic statement itself. Yes, because and the comments about the accelerator fund in that are very solid. Right, and it is getting things built. I mean, there was a story yesterday about housing starts up everywhere in Canada except for Ontario, of course. Um, so that part is solid, and, and he did admit to whatever mistakes because everybody on the conservative side is, oh yeah, the guy that destroyed our immigration system is now given charge of the housing system. He's going to screw that up too. And it's not so much that immigration was screwed up,
Hmm.
right? But if the feds could be faulted for anything, uh, they might have been too inclined to acquiesce to the demands of the provinces. It's like, you can't cut it. We need it. The economy's going to fall apart. We need the labor. No, you can't do that. We need that. And then they tried it again. Like, as they're saying, we got too many people and you're screwing us on housing. No, you can't do that because we got to save our universities. It's like, well, I'm sorry, but you should have been funding universities from your core funding.
Yes. You have to remember, even during all of this, both Ontario and Alberta are demanding higher immigration numbers.
Yeah.
Still, currently, constantly.
Yeah, still. And Alberta was the same thing back in the days of oil. And they're sitting there like this, oh my God, the price of oil drops. This, well, you should have been funding your schools from your core funding,
Hmm.
not from resource funding that's known to be volatile. If you start thinking you got it so good that you could start funding your core services with fluctuating immigration rates can change at any time. The
Hmm.
price of oil can change at any time. Those are not, you fund your health and your education, your post-secondary education system, and all the essentials from your core funding. And then with your volatile funding, you get the nice things. But once you start using the volatile funding to fund core elements because you're diverting money elsewhere, I'm sorry. Like Andrew Coyne said, over $70 billion transferred did not go to health. And now we're learning that the universities were underfunded too. Where is that money going? What did you get for that money that did not go to health and did not go to education? The two things, again, that we need to have a good economy: a population that is ready to work because they're healthy, and smart enough and educated enough to take on whatever tasks are going in a rapidly changing world. Flexible, adaptable, specialized in some places and good general knowledge in other places. If you're not doing that, you are not setting up your economy for where it needs to be 15, 20 years from now. You're just not doing it. So Fraser's going, and then we get the bombshell yesterday about Freeland. And then you get all the narratives, right? You got all the narratives. The one about him not really being a feminist, or what a weird thing for feminists to do, especially a couple of days after drawing the attention of
the Montreal massacre.
Donald Trump and everybody, and Elon Musk with his speech at the Equal Voices thing. You were just at the Equal Voices event talking about women in politics and gender diverse people in politics and how we should be more to encouraging them. And then a couple of days later, you go to the most senior woman in your cabinet and you say, hey, would you step in? Now, I don't know how this was done, because if I was there, because I'd be saying, and if that was there, it would be sort of like, okay, we've got to prepare. We're doing this special U.S. Canada position to deal with Trump and to show everybody that's important, and like this, and that we're taking this seriously. There's not a department associated with it to run, right? But this is important enough that we're going to make this a ministerial position, like this. So we'll build a secretariat under it like this to support it, whatnot, and let's go, right? Do you like that idea? Yes. Okay, Christian. Doesn't matter to me either way. But since you handled this so well the last time, is this something you would like to do, or would you remain at finance? I support whatever decision you make, but I wanted to give you first option. That might be one thing. If it was, Christian, I'm really thinking that maybe we should get Mark like this, and we need to make room like this. So I was thinking I'm going to move you to this. Like, what do you say? That probably would not have gone over well. Even less well, I am moving you to here, and probably would have gone over even less well if there wasn't a what do you say in that. So 3 potential scenarios. Maybe there are others, but those are the 3 most obvious ones, right? Clearly it wasn't the first one. Whatever you want, you get. But I don't want you to think that I'm not thinking of you for this because you did it, because you don't know what the other person's thinking, right? Maybe it's like, well, wait a minute. Maybe somebody could have seen that as, wait a minute, the number one thing that we are going to be talking about for the next 4 years is this little fucker. Like this. Yeah. I am going to be in the news. I am going to get the coverage. I am going to get the press. And if I score a sweet deal the second time as I do the first time, I could ride this. There's a path there. As a PR guy, there is a path there. I see it like this. And that could be some person could see that as a much better opportunity. And you do not want it to don't want to not be invited. So the first way, sort of like, it's like, listen, if you want to go to the other party, the Trump thing, and have that profile, you are more than invited. You've got first option like this. But if you don't, I am backing you 150% right where you are, because you are my person. I just didn't want you to think I was overlooking you by not offering it to you. Right? That's about the only way you can test that water without offending someone. So clearly that's not what happened, because we got that letter. right?
Yeah.
And we didn't, I mean, we were signing off, so we just looked at one line, but throughout the day, most people went out that letter and picked up all the other little lines where there was
Well,
like
yeah.
some little veiled.
We did read the letter. Well, you read the letter out,
Yes.
but yes, there's
But we
more.
just focused on the humility and thing part like this, but there was like the gimmicks part, and there was like, there were a couple of lines in there that, like, if you were reading and it's like, damn, right? Again, it's a lot of the message is in the words you are choosing, working very hard not to say.
Well, like I said, you've got, I think it's the night of the long knives right now, because you've got current MPs, former MPs, all calling for him to resign. And look at this. This is from just about an hour ago, a little over an hour ago. Member of Parliament, Catherine McKenna. This is on her feed. Every Liberal MP should be calling on the Prime Minister to resign. No, he doesn't get to spend Christmas thinking about his future. The surest way to elect a Conservative majority and lose all the progress we've made is for him to stay. And we need to focus on tariff threat from the U.S. It's over. I'm like, wow, this is literally from her feed. It's time for Liberal MPs, including and especially ministers, to tell the PM that it's over. That's right from her page. So, night of the long knives, I think it is.
Well, yeah. I mean, yes and no, but yes. So you have all this going on, and then I leave the show and, have curling in the afternoon, and I'm on the way there, and, and it's like the news is coming in fast. And this is why I am saying yes and no to that. Because again, all signs point to yes.
Yes. No, this is what I'm trying to say, though.
Yeah. Yes. But that's why I'm saying yes and no, right? It's like, yes, you are not wrong. You are not off the mark in any way, shape, or form, right? But then you get all the little other details of the stuff that happened, right? If you're into it, and then you see why it may not be. So on the way yesterday to my curling match, which was at 1:30 in the afternoon, like this, the news is coming in and it's like, wow, okay, things are moving fast. There was the potential of rumors, speculation about 2 to 4 other cabinet ministers stepping aside before 4:00. Who was going to, we asked that, right? Who's going to deliver the economic statement? And by 3:15 in the afternoon, that still wasn't completely firm. Some people thought it would have been François-Philippe Champagne because he's the Deputy Minister of Finance. But it turns out that he was not going to deliver it. I don't know if there was some tweets out there suggesting that he thought that he was going to deliver it, and turns out no. But there was other indications that that didn't seem to indicate that he thought that this was a moment for him to step up, that they weren't going to do that this way. So there's a little confusion about that. And then Dominique Leblanc, we find out, is being sworn in as finance minister. And that's the only thing that's being done, because there was a suggestion maybe there'd be a little mini shuffle because Anita Anand had to take over transport, right? Because there was a resignation there as well recently. So maybe do 1 or 2 that way, but there has to be a bigger one coming, because there's like, I don't know how much what we are at now, but 8 maybe positions in cabinet that need to be filled, because there's also the Randy Boissonneau thing. Yeah, that's why Anita Anand had to take on transport. So that's going on, but it was just Leblanc, just for Minister of Finance. Leblanc, of course, one of Trudeau's most trusted people in the inner circle, because they've known each other all their lives. In fact, Dominique Leblanc was once Trudeau's babysitter, as Pierre alluded to in the House of Commons yesterday. But one of his most trusted advisors, which, of course, when there's a fall of a, I hate to say the word regime, when there's a fall of a government, or an era in government, often the end of the era comes with the leader surrounding himself with its most trusted and closest advisors. So this was for those who are saying the end is inevitable and it is coming. Bringing in your closest childhood friend who you've known all your life to be your number two would probably be a sign of that. Full legit. So there's lots of material to go run with, right? With that narrative, the end is nigh. So that could be happening. And then somewhere along the way, there's the announcement that there's going to be a caucus meeting, and the caucus meeting is happening. And I'm watching Power and Politics, and there's cameras being able to look in the window, and the prime minister looks calm and cool and collected, as he's in there addressing. And then I guess some people figured out that there was a camera in, because there were some security people that brought, sort of like these boards that you can like tack things on to go in front of the window so you couldn't see in. Now, a lot of people are saying there's no way that was left that way at first by accident so that people could see the prime minister in the room.
Probably,
calm,
yeah.
cool and collected. Now, apparently, also in the room was Christopher Freeland, which people are going, whoa, that's badass. Now, this was supposed to be a meeting of the Ontario caucus, only obviously the agenda got changed. I don't think we will be doing that today. Thank you very much. So they all got together. Apparently, there's about 15 people that came to the mic throughout the day. You were hearing, it's like 16 people now want him to resign. It's inevitable. This is happening. He will be out tonight. He has got to go. He's got to make this announcement tonight. And 15 people talked, and the meeting ended. And yes, there are more people talking on camera. François Drouin by being one of them, who's been like a very staunch backer. And it's like, I just don't see anymore come on. Right. And then the people that have been there for a while, Wayne Long, who's been wanting the PM to step down for well over a year now, I think. It's just like, come on, man, what more do you need? Pretty much, right? He's exasperated. You got Anthony's house father, who several times has clashed heads with the prime minister on certain things. Also, publicly stating, yes, it's so. I mean, there's more people out there. Whether it's a third wants them to go, a third wants them to stay, and a third is still on the fence. Whether it's a full 60% that do want them to go, you're hearing numbers varying from that. But clearly, it wasn't enough of them to make him leave that meeting and walk to a mic and say, "I'm stepping down." Now, Freeland was in that meeting. Yes. Word coming from the meeting is that they actually were chatting, and there didn't seem to be any tension in the chat, and hugged. So it's not venomous as suspected. But clearly, if she is running again, she is clearly expecting that there is a leadership race coming soon. And she is definitely positioning herself to be way more on the financially centrist or center-right side for her offer than as left as the prime minister is. Because, keeping your powder dry for a tariff war, costly gimmicks, probably spending $6 billion on $250 checks that are not distributed in such a way as to help really the most vulnerable when you might need that money to compensate farmers, for example, in a trade war or something, right? May not be the best thing. So she has a point, because we weren't really impressed with the $250 checks either, right?
No. I thought it was a bad idea.
There was a good politics, bad policy element to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But then it's like, by making it a workers thing specifically, he even stepped on the good politics part. So,
Yeah.
Right.
Gigantic misstep.
But with $6.5 billion or something like that, you can put something into a program, or, for example, because you have to keep your powder dry for a trade war, you don't want to put something in the window, in the program. So to keep it, she's right. Now, it could have been about that one, and it could also have been about future direction. Because if Trudeau is determined to stay, absolutely determined to stay, he's got to run on something radically different. Right? It can't be just business as usual. Right? He would have to be leaning in to a social left side
Mm-hmm.
to present that as an option. So if he's planning to run in the next election on a UBI, or going all in on green, or is planning to drastically boost spending at defense, and that's why we'll be running more deficits, one of these two options, then these are definitely things that would be in dramatic contradiction with Freeland's more prudent approach with regard to finance. Would definitely. Yes, but he would really have to run on them and run on those things hard to make distinction then as whether or not people would buy it from him.
Here's the
Alternately,
question. Will he prorogue Parliament?
That's another option, right? Alternately, this could just be another political end, a la Murder on the Orient Express, which everybody gets a plunge of the knife in before the corpse is found.
Yeah.
Right? That's one. Then I got thinking. They're both at the same meeting together. Now, that can be a dominant move from Freeland.
Mm-hmm.
If this was super antagonistic, or you're hosting a meeting, well, I'm going to go there and see her and listen to you tell everybody what you're going to say about me. That's a boss move.
Mm.
Right? Because some people go, oh my God, you tried to demand it. What humiliation, like this is going to be a meeting like this. I'm not going to go. Some people are wired that way. She was there.
Mm.
There is some speculation out there that the Prime Minister may have inferred that Minister Freeland's, or former Minister Freeland now, I guess, telling of the events from her side may not be entirely accurate, which would be something I would not do if that was the case. I haven't heard what it is that I've just heard one source that I read, that I trust enough to get things right, that happened. I don't know if that's just an interpretation or right, because I don't know what the words are. But if there is let me put it this way. If anybody from the Liberal camp is watching the show, and there is a strategy going down to maybe suggest that she didn't get it completely right or misunderstood or something. I'm just remembering a moment in the United States where somebody said to a female politician, I can't remember, maybe she got confused, and then she went to a mic and says, I don't get confused.
Mm-hmm.
Chrystia Freeland does not get confused.
I would agree with that.
Chrystia Freeland is very pointed and very precise. It's something about her that annoys a lot of people on the other side of the political spectrum.
Oh, yes.
But in this particular instance, when we're talking about this type of situation, I am very, very, very sure that a woman that is capable of getting under both Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump's skin has a very precise recollection of what it is that happened and how things went down. I would not suggest that this is an avenue you go down PR-wise. There is nothing good in it for you. You may have, like, flirted with the idea, thought about it for a couple of seconds, maybe. Don't do that. Not with her.
No, it's a bad idea.
Not with her. She will decapitate you, and you will not even know you are bleeding. She's got that Nancy Pelosi thing. Do not do that. Men who may be thinking about, do not do that. This will not end up well for you. Okay. Chrystia Freeland is a force. She is an
Putin's afraid of
intellectual
her.
heavyweight. She's a strategist. Do not think. It's like when somebody thinks that they can outbitch a queen. So
Mhm.
you are going to lose this battle. Do not think you can out-strategize or outthink Chrystia Freeland. Or outsmart. That's not going to happen. Okay. So, do not. Yeah, that would be a very bad path. But like I said, speculation. So they embraced, and I'm sitting there and I'm trying to think like all these paths, right? Because okay, he's going into this meeting in normal circumstance, this would be the end, but he's coming out of it and it's still kind of murky what the real situation is. And like, what's going on? Like, why is it's like trying to run a sprint through melted marshmallows? Like, why is there just
Mhm.
like it looks like things are moving fast, and it's like, so what is it? Did they all agree in that meeting that yes, he is going to go, but they are going to allow him to make a graceful exit, finally as graceful as can be? You know, might be a thing that I mean, he did say he's got a lot to think about, and he's going to go think about it. Maybe sometime spent with the kids over the course of the holidays. Come back and say, you know what, this is not worth it. Who knows? But we definitely did not get out of that meeting with any clarity.
Oh, no, none whatsoever.
Because it was still murky, right? So that's why I'm saying this. Like, you had a lot of hot takes and a lot of coverage. So, you know, this is going downhill fast. By the end of the day, he is gone. He is about to resign. He must resign. There's this. There's that. I'm feeling some crackling all of a sudden, Mr. Grizzly.
I'm sorry?
Did you adjust anything?
No, I've adjusted nothing.
Okay. I don't know if the kids hear anything, but there's some crackling, and I don't know if it's coming in all of a sudden. So the kids will be able to tell us. So yeah, this things are moving. You've got this whole section that's things are moving fast. More ministers are going to resign today. He's got to go. You know, he might not be prime minister by the end of the day. And what we get at the end of the day is this meeting that happened. Didn't seem to be too tense between him and Chrystia Freeland, and more people talking on camera openly about him needing to go. But no, he will go. No deadline, no plan,
Mhm.
like this. And more news from other sources that it seems that no, he is actually truly planning to stay. He's not behaving like someone who has any intention to go, as it is right now. So
Well,
I'm sitting there and I'm
it
thinking,
certainly looks that way because he seems to still be very confident that he can win again, which maybe he knows something we don't.
yeah,
Maybe we just need to, everybody just take a Valium, CTFD. Let's hear what the Foreign Interference Commission has to say.
Mhm.
So we find out if Pierre Poilievre is compromised, as we well believe he is, and Elizabeth May and Jagmeet Singh have certainly leaned into that one. So let's not let the sky fall just yet, because it's not actually falling. But we have mainstream media heated up with social media and clips from the CPC social media feeds that would have you convinced otherwise, that the sky is falling, that Canada's broken, that we're in the worst shape we've ever been in, blah, 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 blah. It's been the same broken record for the last, 6 years, 7 years?
Mm-hmm.
And we know none of that to be true. We're not a broken country. We're doing better than everybody in the G7. The only country whose economy is booming better is the US, but their debt to GDP is much higher than ours, percentage-wise.
Oh,
We're
yes.
doing better than just about every other nation on earth. But according to Pierre Poilievre, we're broken. But now you have marginalized individuals, low-income individuals, working class and poor, people like me, who now have access to pharmacare, dental care, children who are living in poverty. And let's not forget, this government's lifted over 1 million children out of poverty with the child tax credit, now have access to school lunches in a program that's being rolled out across the country. And let's not forget about the game changer that $10 a day care is, and the amount of women that have come back into the workforce across the country at much higher levels than they even expected with their best possible scenario. So all of these good things have been happening over the last 9 years, but you have people who just want to fell the government so that they can rule over us. And they're doing and saying everything that's now beginning to convince people that the sky is falling when it isn't. Where are we in a month from now? I have no idea. If I could tell you that, I'd be a rich man, but I'm not rich. And I'm not going to be.
No.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not going to happen. So
Oh, man.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you other than the fact that I think that it's the night of the long knives. They're all out to get him for whatever reason. Is it because they feel, okay, you've been there too long, it's time to go? Is it because they've been suckered into the line of bullshit that's been fed to us for the last 9 years? Is it because of the Trump reality distortion factor? What is it?
That.
Yeah, that's talks about Apple computer and Steve Jobs, the reality distortion factor, how he'd come up with this. This is the greatest thing you've ever seen, when it's like, they've been doing it over there for 5 years. The reality distortion factor. Let's
Cool.
distort reality to make it suit my needs, which is what Trump does every day of his life.
Indeed. Absolutely. So, okay. By the way, figured out what the buzzing is. Somebody across was using some type of machine. It was
well, I couldn't hear it here,
so yeah, but that's good. At least because the kids should not have been exposed to that. So I'm glad they weren't. So you're and you know what? You raised a lot of good points there that I won't like put a pin in them. The whole sky's falling. It's the end of the world. It's the end of the world as we know it. And part because that's another whole narrative that took off yesterday. But here, humor me if you will, because you know I have a strange mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's still murky. They embraced, as clearly there were tensions, but not so much. It's not like, I hate you, you ruined my life, I never want to see you again type thing, right? What if, because remember a while ago when the Jagmeet Singh reminded us like this many times in one presser that he ripped up that deal?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we were saying, oh my God, is it the end of Justin Trudeau? He said, because that's about the time where in the United States, Kamala Harris and the Joe Biden thing happened. And it was like 100 days before the election.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned around and I said, there is no way that anything is happening before the new year.
I think that's...
Was I right and was I not right?
Yeah, I think that's
right?
stands true, and you can hold the mirror up to that when it comes to the current state of the government of Canada. I think nothing happens till the new year, despite the fact that people are saying it should happen before Christmas. Well, I don't think it's going to.
No. Today's the last day of the House,
mm-hmm.
whether the Prime Minister will be there for his normal take all the questions, but he will be going to the Christmas party, and that'll be awkward. So, he's going to the office Christmas party. Woohoo! So he might Somebody's like running a vacuum
Yeah,
behind
I
me.
can hear it. I can hear it
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Sorry.
It happens. I know what it's like. They've been undergoing construction here for 6 months. So
It's like, I do not know why. It's like they know I'm doing a show. Ah!
it's
Okay.
8:00 in the morning. Why are they doing
I
it
know.
now?
So I said that it wouldn't happen before January. That's happening here. And I said, if they are planning to do that 100-day thing, I think I said something like, normally the budget falls the second or third week, Tuesday of April, count 100 days back, and it got us to a date of about January 5th, 6th, or 7th or something like that. I'm just saying, he could go away for Christmas, spend time with family, have his version of the long walk in the snow, maybe long surf in the snow, or long surf in Tofino, or whatever it is. But his version of a long walk in the snow, and come back early January, say, yeah. Now, here's the thing. The two things that keep on coming up in the United States that Democrats did wrong were, one, waiting until too close to the election day to make the change, so 100 days wasn't enough, and Harris not repudiating Biden enough. In the future thing, she said that she would do some different things, but all the past things she said, there was not one thing that she would do differently. The mood of the electorate was sour. The proper answer was, yeah, there is a couple of things I would have done differently. But then if she says that, then that opens the door. Well, then why didn't you? Why didn't you fight for it? And why did you? And then, of course, the answer to that is, well, I am the vice president. The president calls the shots, and I support him, which I did. Right?
Kind of the job.
But she didn't want, but there was the whole sort of like, Joe did such a good job and he's such a good man, and thank you, Joe. And just like, so, saying like, Joe got this wrong at the same time as you're doing that. It's a little uncomfortable. So there's nothing. And so, but now in the postmortem, they are determining that these are the two things that may have done her in. That she didn't create enough distance from what Joe Biden did while he was president, despite the fact that he did a lot of really, 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 really great stuff, and he's the most progressive president Americans have ever had.
Well, not ever, but in a long time.
Well, not ever, but okay. Yes. Yeah, I forgot that. Yes. Yes. Clearly. Second most.
FDR's New Deal, LBJ, he was very progressive too. Don't kid yourself,
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of,
modern day,
Joe Biden was way more progressive than the people on the left who decided to vote for Jill Stein or Bernie Sanders thought he was ever going to be.
He was. Well, I think he was more progressive than Barack Obama was.
Yeah, so he surprised them. So not, and Trudeau is seen as being really left, right? Just like there's no center anymore. Like this Trudeau completely abandoned it. So if yesterday did not constitute a massive public repudiation from the past, what would? Because that's what she did was politically seismic.
Oh yes,
right?
No, massive.
So much so that you got the president of the United States commenting, right? So I mean, so about 100 days from yesterday, but would be right like March 26th, which is approaching budget time. And if you give the couple 2 or 3 weeks until budget day, and then, let's say it fails, and then you go into an election, whatever election period you have, well, all of a sudden you have 150 days or more to election rather than just 100, and the repudiation from the past. So this probably isn't it. But in my weird mind, because politics is the art of the possible, for those of you who are Evita fans, there's a tiny part of me that wonders, tiny little part, if this is not an intentionally choreographed spat prior to the passing of the baton. because he is being given time to make graceful exit on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So how about we have a blow up? I mean, think of it this way. Chrystia Freeland, she wants to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. And for a long time, everybody was talking about her in the running. And then the typical things that happen, right? People started noticing the pitch of her voice and that she has some tics.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, she's not an effective communicator. All of a sudden, she's right. You know the drill.
Mm-hmm.
You know the drill when somebody looks like they're going to be doing it. They look like they're formidable, and then they start chipping away a couple of years before it, all the little things. Right? Well, you might not think I'm an effective communicator, but Putin doesn't like me.
Mm-hmm.
Trump doesn't like me. And now I've got Trudeau's balls in my purse. How'd you like me now?
Well, yeah, that's a valid point.
It definitely changes the narrative about her.
Mm-hmm.
You all wanted him gone, and I did it. Now, she's not going to stand up there and say that in those words. But Chris, if there's one person we sure do know is able to use words to say things without making it look like she's saying them.
Mm-hmm.
We've just seen a wonderful example in that letter of it. Doug Ford thinks he can get it done. I got it done. Is one heck of a platform to run on. Like I'm saying, humor me.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not it. But all of this is so damn weird and a total shit show that you got to factor it in as a possibility.
Yeah, it's just completely bizarre.
Because
I'm sure he still holds a few cards up his sleeve. I mean, really, I don't, if he's still confident and is not budging, what does he know that we don't?
Well, the other thing is that in the Liberal situation is that there is literally no mechanism to get rid of him, right? They don't have the caucus thing like the Conservatives have. The Liberals never signed on to that. And plus, given that he's the one that took the party from third place in oblivion to first, because when it came, he doesn't actually owe anybody anything.
No.
Everybody is there because he brought them along.
Well, the legislation that's been passed under his government will be viewed in history will smile on him. I mean, we've said this a while ago. His government, like the Pearson government, has been transformative for Canadians.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But if we're talking legacy, right, despite that, we're talking about someone that may have gone out, if he had gone out 6 months or 7 months ago, as, the most transformative or second most transformative prime minister in Canadian history, along with Pearson, or the guy that didn't know when to leave.
Well, yeah, there's that narrative, right?
So, so that's what I'm saying. There's enough. Everything, the way things was driving yesterday, led to the fact that we are going to get some type of clarity after this meeting. Like this, he will remain the prime minister until the end of the foreign thing inquiry stuff.
Foreign Interference Committee. Yeah,
like this.
Here's the thing. I think it's important. I think it's important that he remain until that is released.
Yes.
I really do. I think that's very important. I think it's important for the country. I think it's important for how we're viewed by our peers globally, by the Five Eyes. I think it's important that he stick around until that Foreign Interference Commission releases their findings. And what they're going to release, we don't know. A lot of it will be redacted. A lot of it will be kept top secret. But if it comes out that Pierre Poilievre is compromised, as we all believe him to be, because, again, he still refuses to get his clearance for the most bullshit of reasons. And I say that because both Jagmeet Singh and Elizabeth May have talked about it. They know what they can talk about. He's saying, Justin Trudeau can just stamp this top secret and then I can't say anything. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. The Prime Minister doesn't just get to say that's top secret. There are branches of government that do that. Well, actually, branches that are independent of government that do that. That's what CSIS, that's what CSEC, or CSE, I should say. They're not CSEC anymore. But CSIS, CSE, and the RCMP do. They are the ones who put a top secret stamp or an NSICOP stamp and say, no, you cannot release this. It's not the Prime Minister who gets to do that. Do you literally think his fingers are that involved? It's like he's responsible for global inflation, according to Pierre Poilievre, and rent prices and grocery prices and supply chain issues and the lack of vaccines or too many vaccines. Or it's like the flip-flopping, wig-wagging, back-and-forth bullshit that just drives me out of my mind. Pick a fucking lane, buddy.
Oh, then you are going to love this thing that I am going to send you right now.
Okay.
Oh, the top tweet, because when we're talking about pick a fucking lane, with Chrystia Freeland, there's a lot of from the conservative side of the commentary. Chrystia then and Chrystia now. A lot like Jody Wilson-Raybould then, for whom they had no time of day at all when she was in cabinet, and Jody Wilson-Raybould now. And a few weeks ago, I presented. I made a comment about someone who had hosted Power and Politics one day while David Cochrane was off, and said that I found, when I was listening to it, I found it off-putting. I found the coverage, the choice of words, and the angle of the questions were not extremely slanted. Read another article by this person yesterday, and of course, this person absolutely wanted a quote from Jody Wilson-Raybould on this.
Oh boy, this is classic. Okay, hang on. Let's just I'll put the whole thing up here, and
Yes.
we'll read it into our answer.
This is from. There was something in the air that night. The stars were not so bright, Fernando.
The conservative mouthpieces are weather vanes. It doesn't matter what direction the wind is coming from. It always ends up traveling in direction get Trudeau. It's just not serious. From villain to hero in 2 tweets. Spencer Fernando. At this point, only the most rabid Liberal partisans could deny that Chrystia Freeland is the worst finance minister Canada has ever had.
June 5th.
That was in June. Yesterday, Chrystia Freeland went out like a boss. At a critical moment, she refused to let herself be thrown under the bus and made it impossible for the Prime Minister. Pick a fucking lane, man.
Chrystia Freeland. So, but this is what I'm saying, right? All of these tweets, if she decides to run that, she could use those now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, wait, you're telling me, well, let's go back to what you said about me on December 16th, 2024. Shall we?
We want you to do this. No, not like that. Don't do it like that. No.
It's like they're tripping over their dicks, right? To just like all of a sudden, Chrystia Freeland, conservative hero.
Who'd have thought? Yeah.
These people. Oh God.
Unbelievably.
They killed me. Okay.
Vacuous and vague. Just ridiculously stupid. Come on, man. And the problem is, here's the problem with it, though. You and I can see this. I think most of the kits and cubs and the Dam fam can see it. I'm afraid that there are millions of Canadians that can't. Because they're too busy to understand what's going on. They're just trying to get through their lives.
Right. If you're watching the movie, right? Like, this is very cinematic.
Oh, yeah.
On the day of the fall economic statement, hours before, bombshell. Right, exactly.
In a world where one man holds all the cards.
Controls the price of oil and single-handedly controls inflation.
And
He
the
still
price
can't
of
work a
groceries.
toaster.
He's
But
the one
still can't work a
responsible for
toaster.
your rents.
Yes. So, I mean, but in the movie, right, that would have been a great thing,
Oh, yeah.
right? So, oh, man. Now, here's another thing because of the Trump tweet you mentioned, and I'm wondering if it's a confirmation that I may have been right about something, because everybody's out there and says, like, Trump wants Trudeau gone. Trump wants Trudeau gone. And I have a theory about Trump that since he is the TV president, he is always thinking about what looks good on TV. And what looks better on TV? Trump going toe to toe with the suave, dashing, debonair, with good hair, global leader of the progressive movement.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes sitting with him at dinner one by one. Hey, don't I look cute in Justin's car? And sometimes taking him on, slaying the head of the snake. Trump versus Trudeau 2, the sequel. Direct from Central Casting. Prime Minister and Donald Trump. Right?
One
good
man
TV.
will emerge victorious. Who will it be?
Trudeau's a celebrity. Trump loves celebrity.
Oh, yeah.
It's good for the next 4 years. It's a good show, Trump versus Trudeau. That's a good show. That keeps people coming back. That gets ratings. Or Trump versus another dweeby guy in glasses and a blue suit who's trying to do Trump's act, which Trump does way better than he does anyway. Maybe feeling that he's got the stuff to out-Trump Trump. He'll learn a lesson there. But I don't know. Maybe Pierre Poilievre thinks he's cocky enough to out-Trump Trump. But Trump's got tons of images with him with a other blue suit that say things exactly like Trump. They're following his scenario and his model and his playbook, riding his coattail. Clout riders or seekers. I mean, there's nothing in it for him. There's nothing going to be compelling between Trump and Poilievre that will get him on the news every day. But Trump, anytime he has Trudeau's name in his mouth, it makes news. Globally. Okay.
Sorry. I'm just looking at the numbers for the Cloverdale-Langley City by-election.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's conservative one, but that's not what I'm getting at. Here's my issue. 16% turnout.
Yep.
16%.
Yep.
Oh, that is so bad.
Yep.
That is so bad.
There was no interest at all. People chose the couch. I mean, she won by 50 points, right?
Yeah. 14,979 out of 92,061 registered electors. 130,000 population, number of electors on the list, 92,000. Not even 15,000 showed up to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't even know what to say to that.
It's not that the conservative candidate got tons of votes, right? It's not like there's tons of enthusiasm for her, something like this. The liberals chose the couch.
Yeah. It's just bad. It's just bad. Bad for democracy.
Very bad.
It's just bad.
Yep. It's bad all around. I do not disagree with you. I do not disagree with you.
Nothing good about that. No, there's nothing good about that.
Yeah. So here we got Trump. All of a sudden, in a battle of Trudeau versus Freeland, siding with Trudeau.
Mm-hmm.
That'll have a lot of conservative heads exploding. She was the evil witch. I mean, he doesn't like her to start with. It's like poor Justin Trudeau was sabotaged by yet another one. Wow, misogyny to the rescue. Who had that on their bingo card? Trump rides in with misogyny to save Trudeau. It's like, no. It's like I only want people to think I want Trudeau gone. And it's like he needs to stay there, man. This is good TV.
Well,
I've wondered. It's like, is it done? Because everybody's saying, well, Trump would prefer conservative. Really? Would he? Really? I'm not convinced.
Well, look, he could have his way with Pierre Poilievre, because Pierre Poilievre will bow down and kiss the ring. We all know that. Know that.
Yeah.
The man doesn't have a spine, so how could he even stand up to him? But you're
he
right.
He cannot pucker up fast enough.
Trump loves the camera. He loves conflict, and he loves it when his ratings go up. The man will put himself before the country every single time. So if he can increase his ratings by having conflict with the Prime Minister of Canada, by continually calling him the governor of the great state, yeah, he would much rather have him as an opponent. And I say opponent and not a partner, because to Trump, everybody's an opponent.
But, well, Trump has no friends, but also Trump really has no permanent enemies, because look at the number of people who double-crossed him and he got mad and pitched out like this. And then a couple of years later, they come back and kiss the ring again and they're back in.
Yeah, it's just bizarre.
Right? Trump has a long memory for a grudge and a short memory if you come back and kiss his ring again.
I want to share something with you that just came across my feed that's very interesting.
Okay.
And it falls in line with what I've been saying for a long time. So there's somebody saying here, I'll start with the original. It says, Warren Kinsella says, time for Jagmeet Singh to put Liberals out of their misery. Okay. And then somebody chimes in with, it's the pension. At this point, move up the pension date. He qualifies and get it over with. We can't wait for October. Warren Kinsella's reply to that, you're going to love this.
Okay.
He drives a Maserati. He doesn't need a fucking pension. Why can't anyone accept he's propping up Trudeau because he wants to?
Here's the thing. It's not the pension.
No.
It's the number of candidates the parties have nominated for the next election. The NDP is a little further ahead than the Liberals, but I don't think the Liberals have 100 nominated yet. Fully nominated. They are not ready to go. Neither party.
No,
the NDP has not raised enough for a full election yet. They don't have all their candidates nominated, because the Conservatives are the furthest ahead having candidates nominated by a long shot. The only other exception might be the Green Party and maybe the Bloc. But
this is the worst thing that could happen for Jagmeet Singh, though, is to have an election, and he knows it, because his party won't. They've got nothing. They don't have enough money. They've got nothing no leg to stand on.
And not enough candidates.
No.
Right. Not enough candidates nominated, and certainly not going to be over the Christmas break that it's going to be done.
No. So, yeah, he's propping him up because he wants to, but he also needs to.
The earliest we go, right, is if there's a budget and the government falls on the budget and the NDP makes them fall on the budget. And for that to happen, the NDP has to have raised enough money by budget day and had enough candidates actually finalized and nominated by budget day to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily a guarantee that that's going to happen, right? So it could even be a little. If that doesn't happen, then it's quite likely that we go to the fall, unless the NDP sometime in the summer would then put on, when they get enough, use one of their opposition day motions, and then them put the proposal that leads to the fall, because that's the only way Jagmeet Singh is going to do it, is if it's on his proposal.
Oh yes,
that the vote is going to happen, so that he can say again, "I did it." Right, because that's about all he's got. Because the Bloc and the Conservatives are voting to take down the government every time. The Bloc, so long as it knows that the NDP will vote to support the Conservatives, vote to support the Liberals, will vote with the Conservatives every time to take it down. So it really depends. And Jagmeet Singh said that he's not going to vote to take down the government on any motion that the Conservatives propose. So it would either have to be a motion that the Bloc proposes that the NDP agrees with, or a motion that the NDP proposes themselves, and then we see the Conservative will vote for it for sure, and then we'll see if the Bloc was actually puts the money where its mouth is when it says it intends to follow through, whether it is ready. And if they are, then it will happen. Other than that, there's probably not very. The estimates were the opportunity, the natural organic opportunity, and there are no more in the House before the House resumes in the new year. Now, when you're talking about prorogation, that is something that could happen. For example, the Prime Minister can go away for the holidays, decide that he's stepping aside and prorogues the House the time for a leadership race from the Liberal Party.
I don't think it would be good if he did that, though.
Probably wouldn't, but could.
Well, he could do it if he wants to, sure.
Like this. The problem is that would make it tough. Would make the budget a very tough exercise.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
right. But that could be done, and that's about probably the only way that you could justify, skip air quotes, a prorogation without making it look like it's a power grab, like you're trying to stay on. If you prorogue for the time for your party, it's a legacy item, to make sure that they have a leader. You can make a case for that, but that's about the only one I see, unless this really is a case of Sunset Boulevard. It's like I'm still ready for my close up, even though nobody's interested anymore. So I don't know, man.
It's
a mess.
It's this.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Yeah. That sounds right. So, but like I said, there is no mechanism for taking him down, right? They didn't sign on to the reform thing. So, I mean, it really has to be that he decides that he is going to go, or that there's enough people in his trusted circle that say, it's time, sort of like when Nancy Pelosi finally had that conversation with Joe Biden, said, no, dude, you really, really, really do have to go this time.
Oh, yeah.
So, and whether or not he's open to it, like I said, he might. The thing with him is that he's actually never lost yet.
No.
He ran for a seat as MP. He won, I guess, and then I think he ran for it again, then won, and then then ran for the leadership of the party, and then won, and then ran for prime minister in his first thing and won a majority. Ran 2 other times and won. So I mean, he's been winning since the early 2000s nonstop. I mean, maybe he does. He is absolutely. Maybe it could just come down to him being absolutely convinced that he does have that special sauce. That he's just that much of a better campaigner, and he will pull it out. Because, like we mentioned, though, there is the foreign interference report, and I do completely agree with you, Mr. Grizzly. He should be staying on till there, and I do not know why everybody's. I mean, I know why the Conservatives want him gone before that, and the one in election before that comes down. But I mean, there really should. There should be somebody out there say, no, right? This thing was called under my watch, and I will see this part through. I will be there to accept the report, take the conclusions, respond to it, not pass it off to a new person who can turn around and then say, well, I wasn't prime minister then, so. And it was all secret stuff, so I didn't know, so I can't say anything, right? We want somebody there who will be able to respond when that comes down. Because that's critically important. I think a lot of people, and the old breathlessness, will he go? Is that just, the Julius Caesar? Is this the night? Kind of forgot that we're a country. And that's it's another thing that you mentioned yesterday. Not yesterday, earlier, Mr. Grizzly, about the whole narrative of the panic. Right? There's the breathlessness of the coverage as in like, this is like, wow, what an enticing soap opera, and wow, the plot is moving fast. What's going to happen next? There's that breathlessness, which is kind of normal and healthy, because by any standards, what went on yesterday was a freak show.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the pile-on right now from people who I'm surprised are saying he needs to go. He needs to go. Like, I'm seeing it from people online that are saying this, and I'm like, wow, I never thought I'd hear that from you. Whatever the reasons is their justification. It's not, I don't get it, but it's the pile-on, and it's because of is it like a collective brainwashing of the public by mainstream media and
bandwagoning. There's bandwagoning too, right?
That's a large
everybody
part
was
of
a
it.
public figure. Everybody was a pundit, even people like me, right?
Mm.
Like even Everett Scrimshaw was like, had a couple things like, I know that, with the whole rumor stories about there being tensions between Freeland and Trudeau, Evan Scrimshaw really went to town writing on that. And there was a lot of people going, nah, what are you doing? This is just a classic Fife the knife type slice job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how we reported it. It had all the hallmarks of a classic, suggest, and you want to slice, but nothing really there. And whoops, like yesterday when it happens, like, oh well, I guess there really was something there. Like this wasn't just the typical Bob Fife knifing. Like this, there was some truth to it. Like, so there's a lot of people who have an apology today, right? Who came down on him because I mean he has been like really hardcore. He's got to go, and it's like dude, a lot of people have been taking the tack. You're writing this way too hard. Like, calm down. It's like, well, yes, yesterday on that thing, he was right. So, you always have to healthy skepticism, which we had, and then willing to change your view when you had new information. It's like, oh, okay, this was legit. So you got that breathlessness. But then you got the Daniel Smith breathlessness that we were reporting on, the camera just over here, sad panda makeup. And it's like, oh my God, we just got to surrender everything so he doesn't harm us because he's so big and strong and can destroy us. And, the world is falling and the sky is falling. And I got into a conversation yesterday with someone, which is kind of interesting because this year there is a new political party that formed called the Canada Future Party, I believe it is. And the leader of the Canada Future Party is a man named Dominic Cardy, I believe his name is. And they had a big launch and a big release, and we
Were
did
they the Center Ice Party, or is it the same thing as the?
Exactly, it was the Center Ice Party that sort of moved and like this. So they're trying to create another sort of centrist, but sort of like, I guess, more progressive, conservative-ish, mainstream type thing party. And they had a big release and a big launch. And they do seem to have a full platform. Like, we didn't cover it when it happened because, just wanted to see where this goes because over the last few whiles, we've had a lot of new parties form.
Yes.
For, yeah.
Well, GPC,
so, but
GPC.
But this one does seem like a serious effort. And I mean, and Cardy was one of the people, I believe, in the Higgs New Brunswick government who left.
Right.
On principle. Right. So now he's the leader of the party and he's trying to position himself. Right. But here's what he put. And this one got a reaction from me. He says, in 35 days, Canada will be subjected to a trade war by the United States. Our national parties are busy tearing each other apart about the Prime Minister's future. We need a one Canada plan, feds in all provinces. In 35 days, everything else is BS. For God's sake, this is our country. Sounds decent. A one Canada plan, everybody get together, right? And I put a take on it. Unfortunately, there is at least one party that categorically refuses to row in the same direction as the rest of the team. It should be a one Canada approach, but one party considers itself to be more its ideology than Canadian. And he responds, I share your perspective, but why not make an appeal to the better angels of all parties and see if they'll stand for Canada? If not, people can draw their own conclusions. Mr. Trudeau can't continue. We have a crisis on January 20th. That's all that matters. Well, I mean, there's no harm in making the appeal. I certainly won't begrudge it. But if we're realists and past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior, it'll be simply ticking off a box. The party most likely to win has no big reason to settle for less. I don't necessarily agree yet that we have a crisis. The beauty of the Westminster parliamentary system is that there's a process for everything, pretty much. It's awkward, and those who love political gossip will have a field day, but there are orderly paths forward. If we keep calm and have a self-worth as a nation that is strong enough to handle the sting of an internationally covered ego bruise without swelling up and falling apart, and carry on, we'll be fine in the end. It's just embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? To which he responds, I suspect you're right, but if that's the case, we will be so weakened by the time of a government change, real damage to Canadians across the country. This isn't a political line. We are 35 days from a political, economic, and social disaster. We're a G7 nation. It's going to take a lot more than a high-profile HR issue to weaken us, and it's not like we're not in good company. Have you seen France and Germany? It's serious, yes, but we're also so way far from the edge of disaster, and we are made of way stronger stuff. It's like, that was so bleak.
Mm-hmm.
Pointing out the simultaneous collapse of 2 other G7 governments within the same 100-hour period is not a flex for Canada. Okay, wasn't intended as one, but okay. We are so close to the edge. Democrats will still win, but every day we pretend war hasn't started, the longer it will take to win and the greater the cost. It's like, not sure where you saw a flex for Canada and a mere recognition that we're not unique. I will respectfully disagree with you, sir, and suggest the issue is serious enough on its own that it does not require augmentation with hyperbole or doomsday panic. However, on a broader point, I'm not sure that constantly reflecting back to Canadians that their country is weak, helpless, and right on the brink is a particularly motivating sales pitch. The world is bleak enough, and so many other parties are already working that beat. We are a nation that in my lifetime survived the stresses of 2 separation referenda, the implosion of the federal PC party, a BQ official opposition, the interest rates of the 80s, the 2008 crash, and a pandemic. I have way more confidence in us.
Mm-hmm.
Let's check in this time next year. Canada doesn't have control over most of the tsunamis washing about or about to wash over us. The ones I'm most familiar with, we're not prepared. Yes, we do not have control over whether or not tsunamis will wash over us, but we have control about how we will react to them and prepare for them.
Exactly.
And starting to prepare for them by taking the position, we are so weak and damaged, I'm going to say it's probably not a rallying cry. And he goes, I know we'll win. I hope you're right. Most predictions I've made last 10 to 15 years, reality's been worse. And I said, I think we might need a longer time frame before judging how we will emerge from round 2. Assuming he completes his term, the guys south of us will be a factor for at least 4 years. So it's not 1 year from now that we're going to see like, oh God, we handled that. We're going to have 4 years from him if he stays, and then we're going to see how much damage is done, and then it'll probably take a couple of years after that. So we need to take a little longer time frame than compare now to 1 year from now. Oh my God, it's so terrible. But hopefully, I said, we'll get to check in before that, because this was one of the most pleasant, fun, and quality exchanges about differing opinions I've had in a long time. Hopefully, we can have you on our show one day.
Mm-hmm. That would be great.
So, because there have been some kits that have been asking whether or not. So, the invitation has been extended after he engaged us in. Well, I guess we engaged because we subtweeted him. But he responded. But again, we had a differing of opinion, strong one.
Mm-hmm.
We're a weak country that's about to have real damage. Like, come on, calm down, man. It's like we're stronger than that. It's like I'm not sure that talking us down and telling us all the time like this is the best way to go.
It's not. It's
especially
not because,
again,
you start to believe it. It's like the battered partner syndrome. The more you hear how terrible you are as a human being, the more you begin to believe it. It's gaslighting. It's
But so does
gaslighting at a national level.
the United States see this.
Mhm.
Again, why would you take a public position in the name of your country that we are in a weak position and they can do whatever they want? Why would you say that? Disagree on the policy, but don't disagree on whether or not you are strong enough as a nation to go in there. Don't go into a negotiation with your head bowed.
Well, and that is a problem. It's a problem. It's a
I mean,
huge problem.
unless you're hustling people like at pool. Oh no, I don't really play much pool. Oh, must have been a lucky shot, right? Unless you're hustling someone.
Mhm.
It's like, do not. Oh, I'm so weak and I'm not really good at this and I'm not very smart. I know nothing. You don't talk to a contractor for home renovations and open with, I know nothing about home renovations.
Oh, well, we're going to take you to the cleaners.
Shut up! You all talk too much.
Don't
You're trying to position yourself on the wrong things.
You're playing poker and showing everybody your hand.
We are not a weak country.
No.
We are not in a political crisis. The Liberal Party might be having a crisis. But if the Prime Minister steps down, there's an orderly mechanism. We know who would be Prime Minister next. We would have duties. We have caretaker government functions. There's a process, right? There would be an interim Prime Minister. Our system is stable, even if the people in it may not be at any given time. Or party. That's the beauty of our system. That's why it is one of the longest running and most successful political systems in the world. If something crazy happens, somebody probably thought of that somewhere along the way and came up with a process. Calm down.
The sky is falling. Conservatives will try and use anything they can to gain a millimeter. And here's another example of that. When the leader of the opposition's wife, who people say, you should leave her out of this, I'm like, no, she steps into it daily.
And this is entirely unimpressive.
She makes herself a target when she does stuff like this. This is her tweet from yesterday. Another woman deemed not good enough, in quotations, for the job, only to be replaced by a man. Welcome to Justin Trudeau's version of feminism. No personal accountability for his failures. Just throw women under the bus because, well, it's 2024. That's what happens with virtue signaling. It's hypocrisy meant to distract people from seeing the truth. Of course, I believe positions should be filled based on merit, not gender, sexual orientation, ethnic background, or any other factor. But when you have a prime minister who goes around lecturing the world on these issues, the hypocrisy must be called out. Now, let's just scroll down here a little bit. And I mean, you've got all these, aren't you married to him, and blah, 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 blah. But the one that I really like is this one right here. You don't know what feminism is. It's not keeping everyone on board no matter what. That is not feminism. That is special treatment. For sure, though, one woman jumping to take advantage of the position of another is not being feminist. Sit the F down.
Mm-hmm. And does she remember she's married to MGTOW man?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's tons of it. Well, I mean, the thing that got basically Rachel Gilmore canned from Global News is right here. I'll show it to you. Yeah, she's married to MGTOW man. And look at this. Pierre Poilievre's scandal would have resulted in his resignation if he worked for any other party, by Rachel Gilmore, October 8th, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's
Yep.
We did an election.
But that's what I'm saying.
Aren't you married to MGTOW slogan boy?
Right? I mean, and of course, they send out a woman to do the job.
Yeah.
And someone not from the party in terms of the elected MPs as well, right? So that they sometimes when people come back and and say, "I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you're attacking his family." But that's 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 the kind of crap that just leaves me. I saw it, and I didn't even retweet it. I just wrote unimpressed with Oneida,
Mhm.
and that was it, without retweeting with, like I said, why. And it's like, ugh, woman on woman and violence again, right? It's the conservative thing, like, right? And here's the thing, right? Another woman deemed not good enough. The conservatives have been saying that she's not good enough
For years.
since she became finance minister on August 18th, 2020. And she wasn't good enough when she was named deputy prime minister before. Conservatives have said every single day that she has been in office that she is not good enough.
Mhm.
And now you're going to take offense based on not good enough? Oh, girl. Mm. 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 Yeah. You're not the one to be putting out that message. You're just not the one. That message should not be coming from you. I mean, it shouldn't be coming from that party, considering what that party stands for. But of all people, should not be coming from her.
Oh, goodness, no.
It's just, but that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. They do it because they know it'll get talked about it, and they'll know it'll get a rise. And it's about the engagement. It's about the engagement. It's all about
That's
them
all it
clicks.
is.
Buy my merch. Give me your data. Buy
Yeah.
my merch. Give me your data. So yeah, it's big day, seismic, lots of narratives. Again, there's a lot of shiny things to run and chase at,
Of course.
but if we take away the noise and the drama and the speculation and the sensationalism, we have a minister of finance and a prime minister who seem to become as a unit, split ways within cabinet, though they still seem to have a very cordial and friendly personal relationship. So doesn't seem to be animus. So it might be a matter of just professional respect, but not personal animus.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because in politics, being moved out of finance is seen as a demotion. It's always seen as a demotion. And the US portfolio also doesn't have a department associated with it. So you're not managing that, right? So, but based on a professional basis, it would appear there's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
There's been caucus tensions for a while now. They are exacerbated. That's a fact.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
The prime minister seems to still be engaged with his caucus.
Certainly looks like it.
Friendly relationship still with the finance minister. Went there at 5 o'clock. Because if he is in the House of Commons today, that will be another sort of boss move. Because planning to go to the Christmas party. Went to the fundraiser last night. And I do have video of it. And if he was rattled at all by what happened yesterday, it did not show at all. It was rather impressive, actually. Somebody stated it's impressive how he's able to compartmentalize. That is the case because it's a big day. Yesterday was a big day. I wouldn't blame anyone for being rattled yesterday with everything that happened. But he went and he delivered the speech. Now it's only like 6 minutes and something, but you would never tell if that's all you saw from the day yesterday and didn't know anything else, you would never tell that there was any drama at all. So, and he emerges from that meeting, and there is no clear, definitive statement that he is leaving. No plan put out for a transition talked about. Although there are more MPs saying that he needs to go, none are saying that we are starting a mechanism, or that we're planning to walk, and that we're just left with until we hear more. It's just sitting there like, ugh.
I'll be right back.
And that's what we got. Right? So there are potential narratives of, or cabinet ministers are going to leave, or this is the end. The party will devolve until nothingness if he sees this to the end. We are so weak, right? There's all that stuff. And all of that stuff currently, right now, is noise. And it will all be noise until the report on that public inquiry comes in. Okay. So this is the part of the program where the people who do not like the prime minister and would like to accelerate his exit pile on and wax fantastic about all the potential consequences of him not going, because now it's for the good of the country. Right? So all that is going to be going on. And this is the part where they get to have a field day with this. And listen, quite legitimately so. There's one of the things that we keep on saying on this show is like, the Liberals, particularly with this prime minister, seem to have a very infuriating habit, if you were a fan of Liberals, of finding a way to trip over the flowers in the carpet pattern. Again, and again, and again. So, but right now, this is indeed what we know. And there's probably very little chance that we will know more until sometime in January. I would have to look up at the dates, because I think the House rises today, if not tomorrow, and I do not know when is the scheduled return date off the top of my head at the moment. But until then, at least, unless the prime minister makes some decision over the course of the holidays, but before the House resumes, there are probably not going to be massive developments. One thing that could happen over the holidays is if the prime minister is not immediately announcing a move on his part, that might be a time where a couple of other ministers or MPs announce on their own, after they've had time with their families, now that they know this going in. But yeah, for the moment, listen. I mean, if you're into politics and you like the speculation and all of that kind of stuff, pay attention to it. Do look to see if there's anything that seems stuff that is corroborated. Look for it, because yesterday there was so many stories coming in, and a lot of the things that were said didn't come to pass, and a few of them did. Right, and you never know in the moment which are the ones. So to run with and not. So just there's nothing wrong with waiting a few extra hours or even a few extra days to see how some of the things ultimately do pan out before determining what it is that you have to worry or get stressed about, because this is a situation where a lot of people can see each unfolding little detail and then have many little heart attacks along the way. And I want you to spare you that. It is serious enough on its own, as I mentioned, without having to be over dramatized. And there's a lot of people, because it's politics and show business for homely people,
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to get the clicks. There's a lot of people over dramatizing a lot, right? There is a core faction of people that do want you to believe that we are on the edge of this precipice and we are teetering. And if he doesn't go like right now, we are doomed forever. We're not. We're not. We're not. Messy, yes. Awkward, yes. Embarrassing, yes. Covered worldwide, yes. Would we rather it not happen? Yeah. Would we rather our dirty laundry be washed in private? Yeah. Does it make us weak? No. Not the first time in the history of our country or in the history of the world that there's been an airing of dirty laundry out in public.
Nor
The
will it be the
UK just
last.
had the messiest of just transitions of governments. Several of them before they finally had some stability. But the UK itself didn't crumble.
Well, it makes
Right?
me
Just, you gotta
beg
calm
the
down.
question. It begs the question: what will he do when he does retire?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, he has his his pension, but he's what 50? He'll be 54 on
You
Christmas
won't
Day.
be able to collect it yet.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
But what's he going to do?
Yeah.
What's his next step after politics? Is what I'm curious, because he's only going to be 54. He's still a young man.
Yeah. Don't know. And that's another thing about legacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to have better access to some of those glorious positions, might be better to be going out on some kind of a high.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well,
but then again, he is such a star on the global scene. Like he'll
land on his feet no matter what. I'm just
well,
curious as to
that's
what his
like
next move
he
is.
yes, exactly. He won't be a star or a prophet at home, but still around the world, he'll see
Mm-hmm.
he'll be fine. He'll be leading some international commissions or OECD or something, or tons of these organizations, one of the UN departments or something. He'll land. He will do fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite sure. He's got enough star quality and charisma and capital, and he's built enough good relationships with people all around the world over close to a decade that he's
No, I know he'll be fine. I'm just curious as to what
but
his next
it'll
move
be
is.
interesting because he doesn't have the typical politician background coming into this.
No,
I guess
which is lawyer.
Yeah.
Right?
And he has been a different kind of prime minister.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it will be interesting to see because I don't suspect that there would be any reason to think he would have a totally conventional future as we'd come to expect either.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There might be something a little more unique for him. You never know.
Well,
You never
that's
know.
cute.
But it'll be fun. What's that?
Make Toronto Dan, make him ambassador to the USA. U.S. ambassador? That would be funny. That'd be good. That's good, Dan. I mean,
I like that. That's that would be nice. Although I'm not sure he'd accept it. To be totally honest, the only reason I'm thinking, I'm sure that as prime minister, he probably enjoys sparring and positioning and all that kind of stuff with Trump, but I don't think he wants to do it on his spare time.
No, probably no. Like I said,
I could be
on his
wrong.
feet no matter what. I'm just curious as to what his next move is.
Yeah, no, that's a good question actually, because you're right. With the he is going to have to start thinking about it soon.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, unless there's some magical, mystical thing in that foreign interference report that just completely flips the table.
We're waiting to find out.
Yeah. Oh boy. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
There's a couple other little tidbits, but you know what? They can wait till tomorrow. I'm tired and I need to take out Lola, and I have a few things I have to get done today. So yeah, let's wrap up. Let's wrap up for now. I think we've covered the one big topic of the day to
I
the
literally
extent we
put
need to.
on social media, it's like the Daily Beaver Morning Show 24/12/17. Today we talk about, well, I think we all know what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
I mean, geez, right? So yeah, just it does not look at the moment like we are going to get anything anytime soon. Yesterday, things were like moving fast, and
Mhm.
there was a scenario and a narrative like the prime minister might not be the prime minister by the end of the day. Stay tuned.
That was the big narrative yesterday, and I'm like, really? How? Unless he resigns.
It could have
Well, the
happened. Well,
point
that's what I mean. Listen, had the day gone such that the note from the resignation letter from Freeland was delivered, and the news got big,
Mhm.
and then everybody, oh, thank you so much, my love. Okay, thank you. How kind. Oh, my sweetie, my baby sweetie bought me a cup of tea.
Mhm.
Thank you, my love. I got the best. I got the best, sweetie. So he loves me. Father-in-law is also here. He came and he stayed for the night on the way back from traveling. So
Oh.
yeah, he's ready to go soon. So yeah, there could be all of this. There was this narrative, and it could have happened that he got to that, and the day got more tense, and who's reading this, who's not reading this, is the statement going to be tabled at all? And then they get to the meeting, and 60, 70 people come to the mic, and a couple of more cabinet ministers say, what, a couple more MPs, so if he doesn't announce by 5 o'clock, there could have been that type of stand.
Mhm.
That did not happen. Right? So we are probably not going to get as quick a resolution to this that everybody was breathlessly going, he's got to go now, for the love of the country, for F's sake, please do, like, save us.
Mhm.
I don't think it's particularly helpful, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So just this might be a little more slower moving than a lot of people would be like. So that's why I'm saying I'm trying to get you to manage your cortisol spikes. It's like whatever the narratives are, wait to believe the ones that last. Let's put it that way, and that come true. Now, before we go very, very, very quickly, because there was a little bit of news about something else yesterday, because the statement did get tabled. The person I have the most sympathy for yesterday is Karina Gould,
Mhm.
because she had to deal with a lot in the House,
Oh, yeah.
and she did it very, very well. But on a day that I'm sure she didn't expect to go like that when she woke up in the morning too. So, Karina Gould, you're the MVP of the day yesterday, by the way. But Sarah McFarlane from iPolitics mentions, because this is important, because we did have the statements delivered. Ultimately, they just were not read. The belated 2024 fall economic statement finally landed in the House of Commons on Monday, showing the Liberals exceeded their $40 billion deficit target last year, while also detailing proposed retaliatory measures to China and the United States, tariff and trade plans. The sweeping financial document showed the Liberals recorded a $61.9 billion deficit in 2023-2024. Now, that you're going to have some people going with the narrative, they just blew past it. She said 40.1. Oh my God, they're terrible. You need to calm down. This is the bit of news you might not get. It was, here it says, but it blamed, I'm going to say, it attributed the extra amount to, quote, significant unexpected expenses related to Indigenous contingent liabilities, as well as, quote, allowances for COVID-19 pandemic supports for the higher than expected total. So the first part is basically lawsuits, settlements, one-time costs that need to be billed. They're not part of the structural deficit, right? So the guardrail was 40.1 billion. Without those charges, the deficit would have come in at 40.8 billion. So they pretty much hit it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah, these one-time fees. Now you will have some people turn around and go, well, hey, like Goldie Hyder, for example, known conservative, former conservative MP, I believe as well, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong on that. Saying, well, she knew that these settlement charges were coming. Like, well, yeah. But that doesn't mean that you take $25 billion out of your budget to cover them in 1 year. Again, that's the beauty of being a government. You can do it over several years. Again, they're saying, for all the people that say you need to run government like you run your house. It's like, if you total your car and you need to buy a new one, you don't stop buying food. So as to not spend more that year that you would have because suddenly you have a $25,000 new expense that you just brought in that you didn't expect. Same goes for government. So if they're a one-time expense, 40.8, they pretty much hit it. Nevertheless, it said the federal debt to GDP ratio last year still came in at 42.1% figure forecast in the budget. The 2024 federal fall economic statement said there's $24.2 billion in new investments in so-called priority areas such as reducing everyday costs and building more homes, investing to raise wages through net zero growth, bolster productivity, and boost innovation. It points to $1.1 billion to boost research and development tax incentives, $17.4 billion to extend the accelerated investment incentive that allows people to, corporations and whatnot, to write off capital costs more quickly, which encourages productivity by encouraging companies to make investments in equipment that would produce more and write it off more quickly. Now, a lot of the criticism of this thing is the timing, saying that it should have been done 2-3 years ago before we were on the verge of a trade war and people might be more hesitant to spend their money in order to unlock the capital. But it's still a good program on its own. And then the $1.6 billion for the 2-month GST holiday. It was unclear for most of the day if the full economic statement would even reach the floor of the Commons after Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland announced her resignation earlier this morning. It kicked off a frenzied day of questions over Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's leadership and who would succeed Freeland as Finance Minister. Freeland's office said it was up to the Prime Minister's office and Finance Canada to determine how the document would be presented. The PMO, little passive aggressive there. The PMO and Government House Leader Karina Gould remained tight-lipped all day on the fate of the statement before eventually tabling it in the House without the traditional speech. Opposition MPs backed a government motion last week to suspend a conservative privilege debate to allow the minister to table the document. This was needed because privileged debates take precedence over most activities in the House. The motion gave the minister the opportunity to speak to the document and allow the opposition parties time to respond, including asking questions. But the lack of the speech prompted questions over whether the response period should still be permitted. Conservative MP Dan Albus called it a drive-by tabling, and the Conservatives urged Speaker Greg Fergus to find the Liberal government in contempt of the House. Now, about the statement itself, it says that wage growth is outpacing inflation, with recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic surpassing that of the 2008-2009 economic recession. The statement reports that Canada's general government deficit GDP to GDP ratio of 2% in 2024 is the lowest in the G7, tied with Germany. The United States deficit currently sits at 7.6%. Ours is 2%.
Yeah, there's a huge difference there, right?
Yes. So again, people say our economy is on the verge of collapsing. The United States is at 7.6 and theirs is not on the verge of collapsing.
Yeah.
We're fine. While France is at 6%, the UK is at 4.3%. A $48.3 billion deficit is predicted for 2024-2025.
I said that earlier. We have the lowest debt to GDP out of the G7 than most nations on Earth. So we're doing fine.
Now we have the numbers to back it up.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost 4 times lower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? The statement proposes retaliatory measures for China and the United States. This includes government procurement of subnational infrastructure spending and references the tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum that the U.S. imposed in 2022. Border security is also a priority with $1.3 billion in funding for Public Safety Canada, the Canada Border Services Agency, the Communications Security Establishment, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police proposed in the statement. There are lots of investments in policy and amendments outlined in the document. For one, Canada will be hosting the Invest in Canada Summit in the spring in 2025. The summit will aim to strengthen partnerships with international and domestic investors. The statement also proposed to fully reinstate the accelerated investment incentive and immediate expensing for manufacturing or processing machinery and equipment, clean energy generation and energy conservation equipment, and zero emission vehicles, and be available before 2030, then be phased out between 2030 and 2033. The incentives will aim to promote business investments and ensure Canada remains competitive. To combat red tape, the statement proposes to provide $27.8 million over 5 years, starting in 2025-26, for a new red tape reduction office sourced from existing resources of the Treasury Board Secretariat to reduce unnecessary barriers to innovation, productivity, and economic growth. The statement also proposes $43.8 million over 2 years to Transport Canada to support operations and maintenance on the Hudson Bay Railway, which it says is fundamental to securing the Arctic, protecting jobs, transporting supplies, and creating accessibility and transportation options for residents. The statement also promises investment in the National Capital Region, specifically in improving public transit, with $31.6 million to conduct feasibility studies for the 2-kilometer federal and Ontario portions of the Gatineau-Ottawa Tram project. To combat emerging threats, the statement announces the government's intent to amend the Export and Import Permits Act to allow the government to restrict the importation or exportation of items in response to actions of another country that harm Canada. This is probably the elements that go into drugs, the fentanyls and all those base elements. Right. The government also intends to amend the criminal code to make bail and sentencing laws stricter, targeting serious repeat violent offending involving weapons. Firm bail and sentencing laws is one of the opposition leader Pierre Poilievre's Jail Not Bail campaign promises. The FES affirms the Trudeau government's intent to make it more onerous for offenders to be approved for bail when there is risk to public safety. FES is, of course, the Fall Economic Statement. On reproductive health, the statement proposes providing $90 million over 6 years, starting in 24-25, with $20 million ongoing to Health Canada to expand the Sexual and Reproductive Health Fund, as well as $7.5 million over 4 years to Statistics Canada to run new surveys about sexual and reproductive health rights. And an additional $15 million is proposed to help build women's organizations and advance projects focused on ending gender-based violence. And then finally, the document focuses on areas of Black justice and equity, artificial intelligence, and climate. The statement and the government's fiscal policies like GST rebates were reportedly a source of tension between Freeland and Prime Minister Justin in a conversation on Friday that led to a resignation Monday morning. So there you go.
Let's just add a little fuel to the fire about why she may have resigned. On the scale, you'd be surprised to find out. Have the fundraising emails started yet? The new Chrystia Freeland book wasn't supposed to be out until February 4th, 2025, but with all of the recent news, House of Anasi says it's publishing it on Friday, December 20th.
Oh.
So it makes one wonder if,
again,
she was removed from the position. Yeah, but she moved from the position and decided, screw it, I'm out, and this is a great way to sell my book. I mean, that's what it looks like to me.
In Canada, books are signs of announcements of runs for leadership races.
Yeah, there's that too. So who knows? Who knows?
So
either way,
that's why I'm wondering, is like, could this be actually choreographed to allow her? Like, listen, it's not. They were so close and came as a unit, and everybody thinks of them as really, really good friends. Mm-hmm. What better way? You know what, Chrystia? Take a shot.
Yeah, that could very well be it. I mean, I thought Sean Fraser was going to make a run, but obviously he's not.
Don't worry about Sean Fraser, because if he wants to spend, well, here's the thing, right? If he wants to spend time with family and wants to be closer to home, Zach Churchill is not going to be the leader of the Nova Scotia Liberal Party. They just had an election. Yeah. Premier Sean Fraser, 2028. The Liberals don't have to So the Progressive Conservatives got a 4-year supermajority. They don't need to hold a leadership race for another year or two. Sean could enjoy 2 years with his family and then come in and take the position.
Well, and remember, too, that Chrystia Freeland is the Deputy Prime Minister. So if Justin Trudeau were to step down and resign, she would assume the mantle. She would be the PM.
I'm not sure she is now. I don't know how it affects the Deputy Prime Ministers, but she stepped away from cabinet, so I would suspect she's not. But that I don't know. That's still unclear to me,
Mm-hmm.
to be totally honest on that one. But the statement itself is really good. And that was the discussion around the table that hopefully maybe we'll bring you tomorrow or whatnot. The business community, the bankers they like this. They like that there's not tons of money for more social programs. That is really is productivity focused because everybody's been talking about it. So it seems that this, because there was rumors, is it even her fall economic? It is.
Mm-hmm.
This is productive. This is where she wants to go for the future. Right? It's not big money for dental care and whatnot, that stuff. That it's, helping corporations buy better equipment that allows us to produce more faster, to get our numbers quickly and write that off faster. It's more money in research and development. It's more. So it really is sort of a pushing of a productivity agenda, which is more along the sort of more center right part of the liberal, more of the blue liberal sort of way to go in terms of planning. And on that point, Mr. Grizzly, there's an image I showed you that I think I sent you that has the Premier of Ontario. And I want you to look at the staging of this image. Because if this guy is not running for prime minister, eventually, I don't know who he is.
Yeah, I gotta pull it up here.
It is very.
Oh, I don't have it.
Oh, you don't have it?
No.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I will send it to you again. Hopefully, I'll just make sure it's the right one as I'm doing this. Nope. Okay. Oh, I sent you well, actually, let's show this one. Well, right, because I mentioned it yesterday. It's the new flag of Syria. So the old one and the new one. And that will give me time to find the other one for you.
Bear with me while I load this up. It's really chewing through my processor right now.
Oh, no.
So here is the old Syrian flag. I say old, it's just been replaced with a new one. And here's the new one. Old. 2 green stars with red. So red, white band, black band with 2 green stars in the middle. Now it's a green stripe on top, 3 red stars in the middle with the white band and black band. That is the new flag for Syria. I don't know what the 3rd star represents or why they switched the colors around, but there you go.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, and here, Mr. Grizzly, is the one of Mr. Ford. And so a lot of people, again, I'm not sure if Dave Wallace is the originator of this, but of course, the push that, we are going to have a new leader of the Conservative Party of Canada before we actually go into the next election, and that it will be Doug Ford, and that he will be getting a lot of help. Pictures that look like this constitute a lot of help.
Well, this is from our front team. Ford wants to top Polyev. Double entendre there. They can't stand each other. If you think Poilievre versus Trudeau is aggressive, wait till Ford launches his CPC HQ takeover bid. Lisa Thompson. Today, while there is uncertainty in Ottawa, Premier Ford Nation and his colleagues will always be there to protect the people of Ontario and Canada. This is the leadership our country needs now and in the future. Yeah, that's almost
Look
like
at that.
Photoshopped.
He's, for those who are not watching, it's a picture of him face on at a desk sort of press thing with press people on both sides of him, all the mics and the recorders and all the flags of all the provinces behind him. And he's like sitting there like this. He's got one hand up, like a little bit like he's talking and delivering something really very serious. It's very statesman-like framing.
Oh, yes.
And stage. Very. And I've sent you one last photo, Mr. Grizzly, about someone else who's got that ambition, baby. Look at her eyes. This week she's mopping floors. Next week she's the fries. Guess who was in town yesterday? Which former premier just happened to be in Ottawa yesterday? And look with just who she just happens to be having a coffee.
Chris Clark. She's in Ottawa. This is a photo of two knife sharpeners. John Manley on the left has spent pretty much most of the last 9 years sniping from the sidelines. Great catching up over coffee in Ottawa with my friend and former DPM, John Manley. Yeah. I know exactly where that coffee shop is, too. I used to go there frequently.
Just happened to be in town.
How convenient.
Just happened to have a coffee date scheduled with John Manley. He's one of those blue liberals that suggested that we should roll over for China on the Meng Wanzhou thing, by the way. So David Wallace made a comment of, if we get a Doug Ford, leader of the Conservative Party, and a Christy Clark-ish leader of the Liberal Party, then aren't we essentially just left with the illusion of choice?
Yeah.
The Conservatives are coming. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
Yes, please. I have to get out of here. My dog's freaking out.
You know what would be the really weird plot twist? Doug Ford doesn't run to Oostpierre. I guess Justin Trudeau announces that he's going, and Doug Ford runs for the Liberals. I mean, Chrystia Freeland is his best friend and his therapist, and he actually came out and had nice words about her yesterday.
All right, I won't have time for an Easter egg today, so I'm going to show you this now. It was announced yesterday. This is a mock-up of what it will look like. It was released to the public in the new year. It's Terry Fox on the new $5 bill.
Yeah. Yes. Glad you mentioned it because I had it in my notes and I completely forgot.
Yeah, it's
about
was
time.
announced
It seems
yesterday.
that Laurier will be moved to the 50.
Yes. Yeah. Where's Mackenzie King going?
I have no idea.
Laurier is moving. I didn't know that much. Yeah.
Yep. So Laurier got him. Since we're talking, Freeland gets a demotion and Laurier gets a promotion. But Terry Fox gets the biggest promotion of all. He's the big winner yesterday in politics. Terry Fox, good fella. All right, Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
Yes. Let's get the hell out of here. I got my dog's freaking
All right,
out.
kids and cubs. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we loved making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. And you have the mouths from which we want the words to come. So tell your peeps and poops all about us, please, and thank you. We love it when you do. Now, if you are listening to us on podcast, for example, and you do not want to miss a show at all, you do not have to, because we have the pod page and we have a kit named the Ray Girl who very generously for the last 2 years has been sponsoring our pod page. So if you scan the QR code that Mr. Grizzly will put on the screen for you, that will take you directly there. And if you are listening and don't have the QR code, you go to podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver with all in lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you go there and click subscribe, when we're fresh off the bandwidth, we come directly to you. It's that simple. All right. Now, if you would like to help us out in other ways, then you need to go to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page where we have our buttons like, share, and subscribe, just waiting for you to click them. Just give them a little tickle. That makes us happy when you do that. And plus, it helps us a lot with the algorithms and all that kind of stuff. So we definitely appreciate your help there. Now, if you would like to help us in yet other ways, the QR code that is by Mr. Grizzly's head will bring you to our tip jar, and that can be found at our coffee page. So, for example, if you like our product and you would want to encourage us to do more and help us underwrite the costs that we incur to bring this to you, because all our content, of course, is free, and we allow you to have it. So, and we intend this to be the case. We want to be supported by our members rather than trying to get other types of grants or subsidies and that type of stuff, so that we are beholden only to you, our audience. So if you think that we have done a good job and you'd like to encourage us to do more, or if you just, like I said yesterday, just think that I've been a very good beaver all year and Mr. Grizzly's been a very good bear, and that, well, good old Santa Kits thinks that we should have a little something in our stocking, well, then you go to our coffee page, you scan that QR code, or you go to coffee, F-A. I wonder what I have in my mind right now. FAFO. There's a lot going on back here. ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And there you will find our tip jar. And if you leave a little drop in there, that makes us very happy. And it does help a lot. Everything gets reinvested back into the show. And a shout out to Kit Shirley, who I believe is a first-time donor, who left us a beautiful message. I appreciate all of your information and insights on Canadian politics and your efforts to find truth. Thank you, Douglas and Paul. And Shirley, thank you, because that was incredibly kind and generous of you. So thank you so very much. We're glad that what we do resonates, and with all of you kids who support us in all the ways that you do, whether it's by sending us a donation or sending us story tips or comments or leads, or just participating in the chat, all the ways you participate, or showing up just to listen to our show, because you have a lot of choices out there and that you choose us. You give us the gift of your time and your attention, and it means the world to us. And we'd love to hear from you. So write to us. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is our email address. And you can write to us at True Eager, both on Blue Sky and Twitter. You can write to us on our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver, or down in the comments section here on YouTube. And remember our audience participation. We're looking for your thoughts for our year-end reviews and who were the best and the worst politicians internationally, nationally, provincially, and at the municipal level, and what were the biggest and the most uncovered stories as well at those levels. So share your thoughts with us. Please include your first name, or if you want to be anonymous, that's fine, but where it is that you're writing from, so that we can give our kids a sense of what the views are like all around the country. We appreciate all your help with that. Because democracy is something that you do, I would say if you live in Cloverdale, Langley City, take the day off because you did the work yesterday, but it seems you took yesterday off.
No, nobody did a fucking thing.
But for those of you who did go vote,
I'll pat you on the back. The rest of you, get off your lazy fucking ass and vote.
For
you
the
get
16%
the government you deserve if you don't vote for it.
I know. That 16 is really disappointing. But for those of you who did vote, take 2 days off. Give yourself a bonus. But wow, yeah. 16, not good. Lethbridge West, please do better. 2 days provincially. There's one up there for you. Okay. Get some cubs. Could be a tough world out there. Please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, do you have any words of wisdom, please?
No, I got nothing, man. I'm like, my dog is freaking out. I really got to go. Sorry.
Okay, and write your MPPs to ask them to properly fund stuff for Canadians who are unhoused. All right, Mr.
Please.
Grizzly,
All right.
please cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.